WWE Smackdown last night was actually pretty interesting. Thank you guys for coming back to the channel. This is your boy Charlie, aka the P1 Loso. As always, if you guys are new around here, feel free to drop a like, comment, subscribe for more wrestling content. Why don't we go ahead and talk about what happened on SmackDown last night and what this could mean for the future heading into WrestleMania.
Cue the standing ovation!
What an amazing moment. We are blessed.
One thing worth noting, right, before we even get into it, they actually modified the intro. And you guys know the then, now, forever intro of WWE. Well, look at who made it to the intro. Yeah, it is the megastar LA Knight. My guy was put in the intro, and you know, they only put the greats on there. My guy replaced Bork Laser and is now officially a part of the then, now, forever intro. Again, big congrats to LA Knight, man. This is huge. That means not only is the company willing to invest in him in the future, but it looks like all that stuff that the IWC was tweeting out about his momentum dying down is clearly not the case in this scenario. We kicked off Friday Night SmackDown with the CCO, Chief Content Officer, Paul Triple H Levesque. Now, the reason why I said his name like that is because that's actually how the announcer was announcing him. And on the bottom cue card there, or the lower third as they call it, they also put Paul Triple H Levesque, as you will see in a screenshot that pops up on the screen there. And what I found to be interesting about this is because it would coincide heavily with what he was about to talk about in the ring, which was essentially his status at the top of the food chain as far as decisions and his position in the company. So I felt that that was a really nice little touch that they did, which is something I hope they do moving forward, where they call him by his actual name, but also remind people that he was known as Triple H at one point, and slowly kind of shift away from him just being known as Triple H, but now being the chief content officer to the overall casual audience. So again, beautiful touch there. As he got into the ring, we will see Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis already waiting for him in the ring as well. And as he goes on to speak about certain things, this promo specifically, in terms of, you know, like kayfabe, it was to throw direct shade at The Rock, and I loved everything about it. There was two specific quotes that stuck with me. So the first one being, he goes on to say, some people may not like a specific decision, and I'm paraphrasing here. And he was like, he understands that. However, he goes on to say, word for word, here's the thing. It doesn't matter if you don't like that decision. So that right there, that was the first jab towards The Rock, which was, again, beautifully executed. The man can still talk on the mic. He's never lost his touch. And truth be told, this is me being a big fan of Triple H, because I was one of those people that watched him growing up, right? I have him on my, like, one of my top people that I like of all time. And truth be told, we were supposed to get a program between The Rock and Triple H years ago, and for whatever reason, they just didn't do it. I would have loved to have seen, you know, medical condition aside for Triple H, I firmly believe that if he did not have his current situation with his heart, we would have definitely seen Triple H and Rock at WrestleMania, which could have taken that authority thing a little farther. And then maybe that would have led, they could have intertwined that story into after Rock beats Triple H and Cody beats Roman, then Roman and Rock will fight. You know, and they could have did that for WrestleMania 41 or whatever the case is. But that would have been pretty sweet. The promo battles between H and The Rock would have been amazing. And the other funny thing too was, while speaking, Triple H also mentioned that there were some people that needed to know their roles, which again I thought was pretty clever. I'm not gonna lie to you. Now as we move forward, you know, Triple H, Nick Aldis, and Adam Pearce basically all stated that they are a united front as far as authority goes. To which Nick Aldis then takes over after being pivoted from Triple H. Triple H says, well, now we will hear from the SmackDown general manager. Nick Aldis mentions the following. Elimination Chamber will feature a #1 contenders World Heavyweight Championship match. And the funniest thing about this whole situation was that Nick Aldis was the one talking about the World Heavyweight Championship. It's not even your show, bro. Like, and I'm going to explain why I feel that way. It's like, okay, why is Adam Pearce not running point on this? Like, I get it. It's SmackDown. We're on his show. I get it. But the announcement should have been made by Adam Pearce, because the World Heavyweight Championship is a Raw belt, bro. Like, what are we doing here? In any case, they featured the following 12 men for the Elimination Chamber #1 contenders match to determine who will face Seth at the WrestleMania 40 show. And here's where essentially Adam Pearce took over to relay the message of the combatants and things like that. So it was a more of a 50-50 joint front, but still the fact of the announcement is what kind of made me question it for a split second. But again, they're a united front, so it makes sense why, Nick Aldis talked for a bit and then Adam Pearce took over afterwards. And the reason why I find it Logan Paul being in this match fitting is because obviously he's got to qualify. But the reason why I think Logan in this match would make a lot of sense is if because by some fortunate series of events, we see LA Knight become a member of this match as well. That will set up the program between LA Knight and Logan Paul heading into WrestleMania, which will then culminate in the megastar finally getting a US title slash first singles belt in WWE, which would be great. Now, these matches were also pretty interesting because they went on to announce that we will be seeing on actual episode of SmackDown Randy Orton versus Sami Zayn. And the first match, which will kick off the Elimination Chamber qualifying matches, will see Drew McIntyre and AJ Styles. Now, Drew McIntyre comes out. And we see Drew McIntyre, first of all, thanking the audience because the shirt was selling like live wire. He was really happy with the sale. He said, hey, you guys can call me DM Hunk from now on, and I promise you CM Punk will not see a single penny of the earnings of this shirt. Dude, whatever, I can't even say Drew's a heel at this point. I feel like he's more of like a tweener, but like, bro is firing on all cylinders right now, man. So he comes in the ring, he's like, okay, I had Cody Rhodes get back and finish the story. I took care of CM Punk. Now there's only one thing left to do, and that is save the world title. Yo, Drew McIntyre is great, man. We then see AJ Styles come out, to which is then followed by the megastar LA Knight. LA Knight is on commentary, and one would have to assume that this match or this contest will inevitably lead to maybe like a feud between LA Knight and AJ Styles, which I'm all down for, to be honest. LA Knight, even though he wasn't intentionally trying to screw over AJ Styles, there was a point in the match where AJ and Drew were actually fighting on the outside, which, by the way, this match was fantastic, top to bottom. It was one of my favorite matches of the whole night. And then we see AJ being thrown down to the ground by Drew McIntyre near LA Knight, to which we then see LA Knight pouring water on AJ Styles, like casually, which I thought was hilarious. So then AJ gets up and LA Knight is like, so do you want some water? Like he's offering him a bottle of water. And then LA Knight gets basically hit because Drew pushes AJ. So after Drew pushes AJ into LA Knight is like, all right, this. So AJ has Drew McIntyre in a roll up, and it was literally 3 seconds. Like he would have had that match. But because LA Knight was on the rope and the referee Jessica was trying to get him out of the ring, basically, that inevitably opened up the door for Drew McIntyre to hit the Claymore and get the 1-2. Now I am gonna skip the the tag teams hyping each other up. I'm gonna skip the Bianca Belair and Mia Yim match because let's be real, they didn't. Me personally, I felt like they had no type of chemistry and the match was kind of mid. It was the weakest segment of the whole night, in my opinion.
I'm not feeling it.
But inevitably, Bianca won, and then we now move forward to Damage Control. Bayley comes out to the ring. Enormous reception. Crowd is chanting Bayley. They're hot. They're behind her. Bayley cuts a somewhat babyface promo, I'd say. She says, you guys have stuck by me through everything. You guys know that where my heart is at this point. You know what's in here. She went like this. And, the interesting thing I found about this story was that they weren't really parlaying Bayley into completely shifting her character, but rather just moving out of the way. Like, how sometimes when specific people have a reflection, a character growth arc, and they realize, like, maybe I should stop fighting against the wind and rather get on the trail and follow it. And that's what happened here with Bayley and the fans, where she admitted that, in the past they have stuck by her, that she knows she knows everything. She knows what they have seen. They know what she's got in here. And they go on, Bayley continues to cut the promo, says, hey, at this point, I think we're pretty much on the same thing. Like, we're cool right now, right, guys? And then they all, like, cheer. And I think that was such a great way to kind of ask the fans, like, where you stand with them versus catering to them in a manner that would not befold Bayley's character. So this current iteration of what they're doing is exactly what I was hoping for with the babyface turn for Bayley. I did not want her to regress into the Hugger gimmick. I did not want her to completely turn over a new leaf out of nowhere and just start pandering out of nowhere. I think this perfect medium is more of what we're seeing as far as like behind the layer of Bailey and more of like Pamela, if that makes sense. And that's the best part about characters that work the best in the company. Case in point, LA Knight. When they allow people to be themselves, it just works a lot more. And I think that that was why Bailey's overall heel turn and now her face turn is working so well. Dakota Kai then makes her way downtown, walking fast, faces past, and she's dead ass,
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
asking why Bailey didn't return any of her text messages. She was like, I've been texting you all week. And, so Bailey asks where was she last week. Dakota says that she had to go to her doctor. She goes on to say that she doesn't feel like this is where the vision that they had together. She also states that once Kairi Sane joined and Asuka, that they got into Io Sky's head, which inevitably resulted in them betraying Bailey. But in my opinion, I really think Dakota is just trying to screw with Bailey here. I think long term, personally speaking, Dakota does not have the best track record per se. I don't think she's actually going to team up with Bailey, even though she might. They could do an actual face turn for Dakota, and it could actually work. But right now, because of what's happening, I don't think Dakota is being fully transparent here. But anyways, Io Sky, Asuka, and Kairi Sane come out. Now, as the three members of Damage Control circle the ring, Dakota leaves Bailey in the ring, and she gets out. But what happens next was incredibly shocking. You see, she grabs a steel chair, and I thought, okay, are they really going to do this again where where Bailey sees it coming again? Because Bailey saw Dakota grabbing the chair and immediately turned around like, all right, you're not doing this to me again. Like not even again, because it didn't work the first time. They only jumped her, or they only overpowered her because it was 3-on-1, but she knew the turn was coming. So this is what I've enjoyed about Bailey's character so far these last 2 to 3 weeks, is that she's been on her A game. You see, Bailey turns around. She comes into the ring with the chair. Bailey immediately turns around because, like I said, she knows, right? Dakota then swings the chair in a manner that looked like she was going for Bailey, but Bailey ducks, moves out of the way, and she swings it on Io Sky. Then she swings it on Kairi Sane, or Asuka, who was on the left, I believe, or Kairi. She swung at all three of them, all right? I can't remember. It was last night. To then, inevitably, Bailey is still skeptical of where Dakota stands. Bailey takes a step away from Dakota and distances herself and creates space between them in the ring, to which then Dakota drops the chair and throws it. So that was a really interesting angle here. Like, it's really interesting to see what winds up happening with all this. And this is why this story is currently my favorite story in all of WWE, and why I strongly, firmly believe that it should main event night 1 of WrestleMania 40. Now, the next match we see is DIY versus British Strong Style, but they're not calling themselves that. It's just Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, which, again, amazing to have Pete Dunne back. I cannot reiterate that enough. The winners of this match will go on to face the Judgment Day at Elimination Chamber. Let me just say that this match gave me black and gold 2018 NXT vibes, and I was here for it. This match was perfection, in my opinion. I think that they were given the perfect amount of time. I think the match lived up to my expectations, and if not, shattered them. Johnny Gargano looked like he may have gotten busted, in his mouth, maybe his nose or something. But after the match, the best part about it was that all four men kind of gave each other the fist bump of respect. The match saw the victors in, again, British Strong Style, and they will go on to face the Judgment Day in what is sure to be a absolute slobber knocker. And honestly, dude, I think with the way that they're going with the Judgment Day, I'm pretty sure that Awesome Truth are going to be the ones to fight them at WrestleMania 40. Logan Paul then enters the office, and he states that he wishes he could be like The Rock, come in, slap people, and go back on his private jet. I thought that was hilarious. To which Nick Aldis then tells him, okay, well, next week, for the first time on SmackDown, you will go one-on-one with The Miz. Now, this is Logan Paul's first WWE TV debut match. He has never fought on weekly television in WWE since he's been with the company. This is going to be pretty interesting to see him and The Miz fight it out again. And of course, I know a lot of people were not too happy about The Miz being the one to fight Logan. But if there's anybody who he could have a great, safe match with, it's The Miz. And I think that that makes a lot of sense considering they're 1 week away at, next week's juncture from the Elimination Chamber. So, again, I'm all for it. One thing also worth mentioning that we also saw Braun Breaker asking Triple H for advice on rather he should go to Raw or SmackDown. To which Paul Heyman then inserts himself, and he wanted to speak with Triple H. So Triple H says, all right, can you give us a minute? But before leaving, he shook Braun Breaker's hand. And my God, would I love to see Braun Breaker and Paul Heyman down the line. I don't know if it's something they should do right out the gate, as I do think Braun should go solo for a little bit. But it is going to be inevitably amazing when those two gentlemen are together once again. And the reason why I say again is because, the main event match they had where John Cena was in Carmelo's corner, Paul Heyman was in Braun Breaker's corner. And that was such a great angle that they had between Braun and Heyman there on NXT. Now, of course, we are going to skip to the main event match because I didn't think this episode was going to go that long. We see Randy Orton and Sami Zayn for the elimination qualifying match. Throughout the match, it was pretty interesting because Sami was actually wrestling a pretty perfect match. Both men had great spots. Sami was targeting the lower back of Orton as he threw him first on the table. Then he decided to do a tornado DDT, to which then, for whatever reason, I know it's part of Randy's moveset, but Randy Orton went for a superplex, paying homage to his father, as he always does, Cowboy Bob Orton, and inadvertently damaged his back even further. So, obviously, I think Randy's going to be all right, but it was a pretty interesting story that they told with that match, and it's one of the main reasons why I love watching Sami Zayn as a competitor. Surprisingly enough, no one interfered. Randy Orton won the match clean, and unfortunately, Sami Zayn lost. However, the interesting thing to note about all of this, which by the way, now Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton are both two of the qualifying men for this match thus far. They are having 2 more matches next week on Raw, and it will feature Big Bronson Reed versus Bobby Lashley and the megastar LA Knight versus Ivar. Now, some people are annoyed at the fact that you have SmackDown superstars even competing for this match in the first place, but I think it's a good mix. You know what I mean? It'll create some pretty exciting dynamics, and obviously, if one of them was to beat Rollins, then they would just move to Raw anyway. It would be equally. Anyways, the one thing to note about all this was the interesting thing with what happened with with Sami. They showed Sami walking down the ramp, and I think the reason for this is they're going with the underdog from the underground story from NXT, where if you guys remember, Sami lost almost every single big match he had, if not all of them. And right now he's on an 11-match losing streak. The other thing worth noting about all this is that if they don't choose to put Sami in the triple threat match at WrestleMania, you could always go a different route. You could have Sami Zayn win Money in the Bank in Toronto, let Drew get his little reign in, have Sami just kind of observe and pick his spot, ultimately challenging Drew McIntyre or Seth, whoever's the champion at the time, or Damian, to a one-on-one straight-up contest like Cena did, only Sami will actually win, and prove, this would only make more sense if Drew McIntyre is the World Heavyweight Champion by this point, prove that Sami could beat him straight up one-on-one in a fair fight. And I think that would cement his status as a top guy in WWE, proving that he can go out there and get it done on his own, but he actually beat someone that he's never been able to beat when it mattered the most for the World Heavyweight Championship. And I think that would be the best way to culminate the story of Sami Zayn and him finally getting his Cinderella ending. Let me know how you guys feel about all that. As always, thank you so much for watching. This video was way longer than it had any business being. Yeah, the retention on this video is going to be ass. Maybe 30 seconds tops. If you guys want to see more videos like this, leave a like, subscribe,